you because I know the second phase was under construction down there.
Yeah, it's supposed to open while I'm there. Like, it won't open before I'm there. It's like day 4 I'm there.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to open.
Are you sending your son down before you go down to be first online?
Pretty much. That was the deal, so he can get his voice on the podcast.
Oh, there you go. the things we bribe kids with these days.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that does it for the news. We had a significant amount of news this week, which is good. Again, if you want to hear more news or you want to hear more tips and tricks about parks, or if they actually had a great discussion about the accident that took place at the Skyliner. Check out the Disney Crush podcast. Again, great people. We actually talk to them quite a bit. We listen all the time, and in fact, when they were talking about the gondolas, I actually private messaged them what I think was the cause and of the other power outages and whatnot. So, we keep in contact with them. They're really good people. They have a great podcast going, and I employ all of you to listen.
I second what Patrick said.
Yes. And we now found out the name is Youngword, right?
Yes. I let me formally apologize to Tony Youngward for screwing up his name.
Well, you can apologize again because he's Dave.
You're leaving this in, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
God. Okay, Dave. Dave. I'm so sorry. Dave Youngward. I apologize 4 times now. Last week was once. Within 2 minutes of this podcast was 3. They are very knowledgeable in what they talk about. Every time, like I said, hold on. Every time you listen, you want to go to Disney World if you haven't been or if you're planning on going, so.
Yeah, I agree. I want to go to Disney World all the time anyway, but definitely when I listen to their podcast, you get a lot of good information about quote-unquote home. So, but without further ado, I think we should move on to the movie.
Let's go.
Get your popcorn, get your drink. The movie's about to start.
So we threw a little hints in there in the beginning, not like we usually do where we're like over the top with it. And I don't even know if people would have caught mine because this movie is very underrated. But we are going to be covering the movie Planes. So the quick facts about these, this is the studios that did it, which you would think was Pixar. If you just watched the movie, you would think it was Pixar. It was Prana Studios and Disneytoon Studios. It released on August 11th, 2013. Had a budget of $50 million. Opening weekend, it made $22,232,291. The gross worldwide on that, was $239,258,712 dollars. So success?
Yes, absolutely.
I would say
absolutely. With a budget of $50 million and you gross worldwide 5 times that, that's a success.
I would say that's a success. I mean, Disney's now putting out billion-dollar movies, so maybe now by today's standard they wouldn't consider that a success, but it was successful enough to get a second movie. The director was Clay Hall. The writers were John Lasseter, Clay Hall, Jeffrey M. Howard, who also did the screenplay. An additional story material was done by Robert Scanaway, John Cryer, and some notable names is Dusty Crosshopper is Dane Cook, the skipper is Stacy Keach, Chug is Brad Garrett, and El Chupacabra is Carlos Alazraqui. I'm very sorry. I'm terrible with names, so I butchered that, and I apologize. So in case you're listening, this is not a Pixar movie. However, John Lasseter is the writer, and he was also part of the storyboard and the screenplay, and he's Pixar. So obviously, this was Pixar's deal, right? Originally, in my opinion, I didn't read that anywhere, but To me, this sounds like this was meant to be a Pixar movie. Pixar didn't do it. Disneytoons decided to let me do it. So the fun facts here is that it was originally a straight-to-DVD movie, and it was intended to go straight to DVD. However, in test groups it did so well, they decided to scrap that idea and put it in the theaters. And then it did so well that they decided to make a second movie. So I guess that was a good idea. Because even less people would know it if it was just the straight-to-DVD.
You now you think with a budget like that, you think that would be a TV movie budget
At $50 million?
At 50 mil.
Well, I think they made some scenes of it, tested it, found out it was good, then upped the budget and pushed it to movies.
Okay.
I think that's how that worked. I didn't really read into it, but anyway.
But that's an interesting thought that they wanted to do a straight to DVD release where only sequels in history that I know, some animated sequels would go straight to DVD.
Almost all of them.
Yes.
However, this did not go straight to DVD for its sequel. But like if you look back, like all the Little Mermaids are direct DVD, and they're actually a different production house, which is why a lot of times you get different voices on them.
Okay.
Because they're not actually contracted through the same production house. And while to us Disney is Disney, to the companies Disney is not Disney.
Right.
So contracts with one does not necessarily mean you have contracts with the other. So they call it Rochelle XS 8. And this is the first time in the history of Disney a main character from a movie was swapped 8 times for a different appearance and a different vocal track. So they changed her, 8 times before they settled on who they ended up with. The Navy influence. When Disney inserts realistic themes into films, the most important thing is for them to be accurate. Disney takes authenticity very seriously. The Navy's influence in planes was so important that 2 Navy commanders were invited to screen an early version of the film and offer advice. And they took a lot of that advice, to my understanding. But they definitely had 2 commanders from the Navy say, yes, that's kind of how that works. No, that's kind of not how that works.
I totally enjoyed that little snippet that you put in there because I totally enjoyed the part of the movie which we'll get to. It's very interesting that they throw the Navy in there. I understand what the reference and the influence would be, but it's very interesting because a lot of movies now, if they're based on certain facts and certain things, they do add technical advisors to it to add that authenticity.
Yeah, right. And, I believe by law, if you use authentic military uniforms, you must have someone on staff while you make the movie. And that's why a movie like G.I. Jane didn't have authentic uniforms, because the military branch kind of walked away from the movie saying this is ridiculous, to my understanding, from what I read years and years ago.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't take that as absolute fact, but I'm pretty sure that's the movie that I read about it. And they went ahead and made it anyway, but then they couldn't use exactly authentic stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's that. That has nothing to do with this.
No.
We actually see the Navy pretty early in this movie, because in the very first scene, it looks like Dusty. Well, first we see 2 like F-16s, right? Or I guess
F-18 Super Hornets, actually.
Yes, they would be Super Hornets. So we see 2 Super Hornets, and the guy's like, "Where's this guy? I thought you said he was fast." And the other guy's like, "Just wait." And it's Dusty comes buzzing by the other direction and then beats him in a race. And you realize, no, he's just dusting crops and daydreaming, and he's getting it all in his buddy's face.
But it's Goose and Iceman. I
Yes,
love that. I love that. That opening scene was great. Looking at the cast of characters, and I thought I heard Val Kilmer, and I was like, no. And then I was like, yes. And I got excited because I wanted to watch the Top Gun 2 trailer again after I watched this movie. But really, that was a fun scene. And that's typical day for me at work. It's not, I shouldn't really admit this on air, but there are times where life gets so mundane and you're walking and you kind of daydream about it and then you wake up. It's a typical, and this movie is so reminiscent of its story and what an actual person could do when prompted by friends and whatnot. But as far as the dream sequence goes, that was actually a fun sequence. I liked it.
Oh, it was great. And you're right. I mean, you definitely shouldn't be admitting that on air. However, sometimes I do such mundane things, like where I'm just splicing out the 300th VAV for my career, or not even my career. I probably put in 1 million of them. But if I'm on that job, like I did this last job, I did 358 VAVs consecutively, just day after day after day. I would just wire them up. So, you like you said, you're just like, I can do this with my eyes closed. And I do. But I'm off somewhere else in my head. And you're like, oh, man, I'm still on this ladder. But, so that was great. But then, like, they got the Vita multi-minavolt mulch or something like that.
Yeah.
That they're spraying. And apparently it smells awful. But the other guy doesn't know that. And he keeps talking about, like, that's how his mom used to make it throughout the movie. It was very weird.
Does mulch ever smell
Well,
like roses?
It shouldn't. It's compost. It's dying organic material. I mean,
but yeah,
look.
But for Cedric the Entertainer, another famous voice, for Cedric the Entertainer to say, it's like a commercial or something. I was just like, oh no.
It was pretty good though. So then you see when Dusty's off, when it's quitting time, he pretends to race, and at first you kind of just think he's pretending to race, but he's actually training for a race, for a world race, which, by the way, would not be an exciting race at all for planes to fly around the world. But planes in short courses with the turns and stuff would be way better than, that. But whatever. The trials would actually be way more fun than the wings around the world. But I get it. I get the whole story drive thing. But we meet Chug now, who's kind of his coach, and he's making him use these code names like what was it?
One was Strut Jet Scream. Strut Jet Streamer was
I think
one.
you mispronounced that. It's Dusty Crophopper.
Dusty Crophopper, yes. Yes, exactly. It's actually Norwegian. Yes,
whatever. He's using the codes, but he's kind of and this is why I say everyone believes this to be a Pixar movie, and it pretty much is. There's your Mater. I mean, he's definitely your Mater, yes. And Dusty is the exact opposite of Lightning. Instead of being Lightning McQueen, he's Dusty Crophopper. I mean, he's the absolute opposite of Lightning. Lightning is this hotshot kid who's already a big-time racer, where Dusty is your average workaday Joe who just wants to get into the race.
Yeah. Big hopes.
Right.
Big hopes with even bigger dreams, which is, like you said, the average Joe.
Yeah, and it's amazing in that we have two characters, again, that are very similar between these two. I know comparing the two movies is probably not the right way to explain this movie, but there's such similarities. You have Skipper, who we're going to meet in a few minutes in the movie, when Dusty goes to see him. And in Cars, you have Doc Hudson. Now, they're very similar and completely opposite all at the same time, which is what makes them so amazing. Because what is similar about them? They both hate the younger generation. They're your typical grouchy old man who blames the new generation for everything, right? But their motivations for that are so incredibly different. Lightning is a cocky young brat, right? That's the best way to put that.
Yeah.
He's a cocky young
punk.
Brat.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So Doc doesn't want to help him because he was that brat once. And he's done it. And he's won 4 Piston Cups that we find out at the end. And when it's over, it's over. They don't care about you anymore. However, Skipper talks about all these missions he was never a part of. Yeah. He lies about it the whole time. You think he's this great war hero. And it turns out the poor guy's got PTSD.
Yeah. That's watching that character really resonates with me because,